Saying miracle, that's big chill. Give you zero, no good, good. That's a board wipe, no refill. We absolute, that's overkill. That destiny, you adopted that. I'm a hero. I was born.
Yugi peoples, welcome to the deck profile. All right, this will be my Omni hero deck profile for the case tournament where I got top 4, eventually losing to Bestial Dragon Link. You know, technically I kind of went undefeated in Swiss, but you know, in order to prevent a 6th round, I actually like conceded both games to my opponent to avoid an extra round, because I think like in round 5 we had what was it, 3 undefeated players left, and it was already getting close past 6, and I was supposed to have been at work at 6, which I had already told them I was going to be late, but there was no point in making myself later than I needed to be. And yeah, in top 8 and top 4 I ended up playing against Bestial Dragon Link. In the top 4 I probably actually could have had a chance to win if I had called by the grave on his rocket monster, but when he activated Contact C on me, for some reason I just didn't think, I forgot to call by the grave his only rocket monster in grave to make it to where his Boral Link monster couldn't negate my Stratos' effect. And yeah, even though he Contact C with me, I hadn't resolved Stratos effect. I was gonna grab Ferris, of course, and I could have just tributed off the Contact C and, you know, went full combo with no interruptions. And yeah, kinda messed that up, but it's all good. I also got first place in a couple locals, second place with it, the same exact build, no changes to side, main, or extra deck. So yeah. Then also, you know, shout out to Meta TCG. Like, they got my custom playmat made over here with my YouTube logo on there. You know, my favorite colors, red and black and white, pretty much. Oh, red, black, and gray, really. White, yeah, all the same thing. But yeah, so, you know, shout out to them. And don't forget to check out my code in the description, the M Hero code, because if you go to their website and, you know, whether you're buying Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, you'll get 5% off using that code. So yeah, go ahead and jump into the deck profile now. It's pretty run of the mill, I guess, hero type standardish. The only thing is, like, I fit 12 going second cards off in there because of some of the changes I made to like the main engine. So yeah, so we'll start off with the E heroes, of course. 2 Stratos, 1 Liquid Soldier, 1 Honest Neos, and 1 Shadow Mist. Yeah, you know, pretty usual numbers. Some people, you know, run 3 Stratos. It's a matter of preference. I really don't like having that many normal summons inside of my deck. And then also on the 1 Shadow Mist, now that we basically just use him to search out mass change, I really don't feel like a second one is necessary. And then on top of that, like, I get tired of drawing him in my opening hand when I don't have Ferris. Like, if we had a Link 1, it would be a whole lot better. But there were just so many games where I would draw him and I was like, man, this is like my only hero. And yeah, it was just kind of bad. Like, these two, hey, really all 3 of these were like pretty bad, like opening draws, depending on what the rest of their hand looked back. But pretty much, like, what I'm saying is, like, any of these draws don't do anything by themselves. So yeah, they were not very optimal in my, you know, decision making. So went ahead and cut Shadow Mist down to 1. There was never a game that I missed it. The only thing I did miss is that a lot of times when I was playing 2, when I was going second into games, I would side one of these out. So it was one of the easy decisions to make when siding, and with just one of them off in there, I had to remember, like, don't side that out. He's the only one inside of the deck. So yeah, that's it for that. Then my Destiny heroes, also pretty standard. 2 Mally, Plasma, Dark Angel, Denier. You know, most of my inboard, Dark Law, DPE, Dark Angel. Dark Angel so good, you know, as long as you don't have any monsters in attack position, which I made sure to do a better job of this time, which I feel like overall helped my win percentage a lot more, because during the regional when I played this deck, I kept leaving Wonder Driver out there. I was being greedy and I really wanted Wonder Driver's effect during, you know, my opponent's turn when my DPE special summons itself back to the board. So I was leaving him on the board and then just popping him with DPE, and yeah, it was like a waste of a DPE pop. So I stopped doing that. And, you know, sometimes my inboard was just DPE Dark Angel, which was enough, you know, given the current format with, you know, Runics and branded, and just there was Sky Striker in my area, and just having a Dark Angel out there really prevents them from being able to extend unless they have something that's more like a inherent summon and doesn't rely on the spell card to special summon it. So yeah, very solid. Plasma put in work. That's our anti-nib card, and he did exactly what he was supposed to do as well. Wouldn't change my Destiny hero lineup. This was like my questionable Vision Hero lineup. Yeah, I decided to only run one Ferris. Like, I felt like, normal summoning Stratos, special summoning Stratos where the hero lives, and I just, and then also the chance to randomly open it up. I felt like that was enough Ferris. I wanted to have more room inside of my deck for going second cards, and, it was never an issue. One increase I think was an issue like one time, but I was still able to get to Poly, and I actually ended up using him to make what's his name, Destiny Hero dangerous. So it's the turn still turned out perfectly fine. It's just if you draw the increase, you just got to do your best to make it work. And I felt like that was one of the things that actually like helped the deck better, was adding Destiny Hero dangerous back into my extra deck, because then any dark monster that I drew along with a Destiny Hero monster, was perfectly fine for me to go combo, because, whether it's Denier or Mally, you can use Dangerous's effect to dump the other one and, just continue to go from there. And there were even a couple of times where I Fusion Destinied in with Dangerous instead of doing the DPE, because I was able to do a little bit more with the combo line. And yeah, so I was perfectly fine with it. Usually I kind of do like to run 3 Vions when I only have 1 Ferris, but this was perfectly fine and worked very well inside of the tournament. That's my monster lineup right there. Wouldn't change anything about it. Not the 1 Ferris, not the 1 Shadow Mist. It just seemed to work really, really good for me. All right, then we will go into my going second cards. Because of, the cutting down to the 1 Ferris, cutting down to 1 Shadow Mist, I was able to run more going second cards, which made my matchups a whole lot easier to win. First of all, yeah, I know we just switched formats where we're switching into a Droll format, but even in this past format, I like Droll at 3. I was main decking 3 of them. It was really good against Dragon Link. It was good against Kashtira. It was good against, the Runic deck. It's like a lot of those decks that people were playing, Droll and Lockbird, still worked really good against. So I had already played 3 of those. Then 3 Ash, very generic. There's a lot of Branded inside of my deck. This card kind of wins the game against Branded currently. I heard in going into this next format it doesn't, so Ash might kind of fall to the wayside a little bit because of that. And then basically 2 crossout targets, 1 nib, 1 imperm. There were a couple of times where I drew the nib and it was perfectly fine. I never think I drew the imperm, actually. Not that I can remember, but I did draw nib, and it was perfectly fine. Some decks like play into nib, or nib is pretty effective against them. Like, he almost won me that top 4 match because all my opponent could do was end on 1 interruption, and if I remembered to call by the Graveyard, I would have still been able to win that game. So yeah, then we got 2 Book of Eclipse, because of course Kashtira works against most other decks, like even good going first, because you can still flip your monsters face down, preventing them from XYZ summoning or Link summoning, or whatever they are trying to do with their deck. And then 1 Triple Tactics and 1 Triple Tactics Thrust. Yeah, both of these cards were good. If I drew them, fine. If I didn't draw them, it was still fine. One of the main things I wanted to be able to do is be able to hand trap and activate my card effects, safely. So I wanted to have them off in there for crossout targets as well. And yeah, like throughout the day, I don't think we ever crossed out Droll and Lockbird. We just didn't have it when the thing came. We did cross out a couple Ashes, of course. We crossed out 1 imperm. We crossed out like 4, well, probably more than 4 nibs, because in the case tournament alone, I crossed out 4 nibs in the process of like going for OTK. Just like, yeah, I just didn't want to get nibbed when I was about to OTK my opponent, so I was like, let's just cross it out. And yeah, crossed that out. Never crossed out a Book of Eclipse. I crossed out 1 Thrust and 2 Triple tactics talent. So yeah, Crossout was definitely MVP inside of the deck. I really like that card. Just like it makes comboing and even going first into certain cards that we might be afraid of, like these two right here. If your opponent didn't have the hand trap against you, then you're still able to set it pretty safely because we're able to play around Nib. Like I said, like the only time I really crossed out Nib was when I was going for OTK because I went second that game, and yeah, it just made it safely. And some people might say you should side out, cross out going second. Well, unfortunately, there's a card called D Barrier that exists, so we just we don't necessarily auto lose to it, but it makes winning a whole lot harder because you can't do your fusion things. And a lot of times if you don't open up like straight the Destiny Hero monsters or something, then it's hard to get them into the graveyard to be able to search for that plasma and get him out onto the board, because you still got to have 3 monsters to get him out there. So rather than deal with that card, I would rather take the card to just eliminate its possibility. So yeah, I think I crossed out 2D barriers as well, and yeah, cross out was amazing. It won me a whole bunch of games. I highly recommend that card, even going into the next format. If you're having trouble with Droll Lockbird and Ghost Ogre hitting your increase, go ahead and just run cross them out. It's probably the best thing to do. Also, I hear this card is getting very popular next format because of Pearlies. I think they have like a draw effect in the standby phase. So yeah, you're able to like triple tactics to thrust them pretty easily. So this card, actually like both of these cards, because a lot of people also want to steal that Pearly monster and then proceed to steal it and put Zeus over the top of it. So yeah, be looking out for these two. The cards come more, and yeah, let's just cross them out. Let's just make it easy and cross them out. That's my going second lineup. Now for my spell cards, pretty standard now the way we run it. 3 A Hero Lives, of course. 3 Fusion Destiny. Best card in the hero deck is like 1 card DPE Plasma or DPE Dark Angel. Then 2 Mass Chains, since we search it very easily now thanks to Wake Up My Elemental Hero. I don't feel like it's necessary to run 3. 2 was perfectly fine for me. And then, of course, because of Cashtira things, and also just because in general, it's okay to draw it sometimes. Sometimes it's going to be a brick, sometimes it's not. But when you can't get to Vion every single time, it's kind of nice to have that polymerization off in there. And then, like I said, running the 1 increase makes it to where when you do run dangerous in your extra deck, increased draw is not all that horrible. So yeah, that. Then, of course, the MVP is kind of Called by the Grave and 2 Crossout Designators. I might actually like go up to running 3. I love that card so much. It was really good. My one-ofs, Miracle Fusion, and Rhoda. Like, at a point there, I kind of forgotten that I ran Rhoda. Like, I was just never drawing that card. And it's crazy because I run 1 Rhoda and 1 Miracle Fusion, but I'm always opening up the Miracle Fusion, never opening up the Rhoda. Just crazy. But yeah, that's my spell lineup there. The only trap I ran inside of the deck was Imperm for crossout purposes. I just really didn't feel like Imperm was all that necessary this format. And yeah, deck was 41 cards. I tried to get it down to 40, but I kind of felt like I needed everything that was in there. Probably could have cut 1 Droll, went down to 2 Drolls, but I felt like it was really good, so I didn't want to cut it. Probably wouldn't change too much about the main deck. Going into this next format, it'll be a challenge to try to figure out how we're going to beat Pearlies and Super Heavy Samurai, how we're going to play around the hand traps that are switching into the meta. So, the deck will be adjusted according to that. Let's go ahead and look at the extra deck. We'll start off with the Mass Heroes. 2 Dark Claw. He was pretty good this format, so I went back up to 2 Blast and Acid because of Labyrinth and Trap Tricks running around inside of there. I may have left these off in there. He can bounce it back to the hand. This can destroy them all. So yeah, at the larger Mass Hero lineup than I had been running. So welcome back to these guys. I don't know if Acid will stay in going into this next format. I feel like Pearly and Super Heavy Samurai, especially Super Heavy Samurai, they don't run any spells and traps, and yeah, I just don't think they're going to be doing too much this next format. So those might be moving out of the extra deck. My elemental heroes, of course, Sunrise, Escurito, Absolute Zero, and Wake Up. This card's MVP. We already know that when he hits the field, your opponent's LP is jeopardized. Escurito because of Fusion Destiny, and I still want to be able to draw with Graceful Charity, aka Liquid Soldier. Then of course Big Chill and Wake Up your elemental hero for combos. So yeah, pretty standard there. Then for my Destiny heroes, 2 DPE, Dystopia, and Dangerous. I really would have liked to put Dystopia inside of my side deck, but I hate the sleeve switching thing and all that issue that comes with it. So it was just easier for me to run it inside of my extra deck. Of course, 2 DPE because it's probably the most important card inside of our extra deck, whether you're going first or second, and you don't want to get it rid of with what's his name with against Kashtira. Yeah, Dangerous was pretty good. One of the reasons why I ran him is because depending on how I did my combo, it allowed me to keep Sunrise out on the board because, in order to wake up your elemental hero, you need a fusion monster, fusion warrior, and sometimes if you go the dangerous line, depending on what your hand looks like, you're able to do the DPE with Sunrise, and you can actually leave your Wonder Driver out on the board to get his effect, because you can just, when they go to attack into the Wonder Driver with the Dark Angel, you can just use Sunrise effect to destroy the Wonder Driver. So don't forget to put your Sunrise in defense position so that they don't try to crash the Dark Angel into that. But yeah, and then Dystopia was just in there for the extra damage. It came in handy quite a few times. Also, his 2800 attack is actually not too bad to scoff at. Actually, like during the tournament, like I was thinking about the effectiveness of a pop on the board, and it actually kind of made me want to add Dynatag back into my deck, just because there were boards where you can open up with Fusion Destiny and you can end on DPE and Dystopia and be perfectly fine and have 2 pops. So might be something to think about there, putting the Dynatag back into the deck maybe. It just sucks to draw it. That's the thing about it. Dangerous was really good, like I said. So yep, there goes that. Then of course my extra deck the Link monsters, 2 Cross Crusader and Wonder Driver. I really wish I could have ran 2 Wonder Drivers because you lose him pretty easily, and when you go into your Wake Up your elemental hero combo line, because you need him for that second poly. And yeah, it's just like without having that second one off in there, there's no way to recover that Miracle Fusion or that poly that you used in the turn. So I actually wish I could have fit second Wonder Driver off in there. Maybe if Kashtira kind of disappears and we don't need that extra DPE, we can work that second Wonder Driver back off in there. And yep, so that's it for my extra deck. Probably wouldn't change anything about it. The only thing is, like I said, I wish I could have played a second Wonder Driver. I felt like it would have came in very, very handy, but obviously didn't need it too much. For my extra deck, 3 Ghost Bell for Math Mex and Branded, hit the trap, hit the puppet, try to win the game. Came in handy. Definitely had to use it against the Branded matchups. Extra Nib for those decks that play into Nib, like Math Mex. Yeah, those were my kind of like subject things, because I felt like I had enough main cards. Like against Branded, we basically have Ash, and your hand traps work pretty well, but they're able to dodge like stuff like Imperm and Valor and everything. So I really wanted to have the Ghost Bell for the Gimmick Puppet. I just don't like losing to Gimmick Puppet. Then of course 3 Dark Ruler, Sprite. Very tough deck to win against. Tough matchup. Gotta have the Dark Ruler. Just makes it easier to win. 2 Cosmic Cyclones because Labyrinth runs Skill Drain and such. And then 1 Feather Duster. I actually used to shout out to Steven Tyler. This is actually like his crazy misprint. Harpy's Feather Duster. I don't think you can really see it with the sleeve on there. But like where y'all see those 2 lines through there, right there, there's like some misprint like running down the center of that. But shout out to him for letting me use this. 2 Cosmic Cyclones, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. These probably just need to be Lightning Storms. That would be a whole lot better, especially in the Bestial Branded matchup where I would have preferred to destroy all of their back row. Yeah, let's switch these to lightning storms. That is definitely one thing that I will change going into this next format. 3 evenly matched. This card's amazing against trap decks, against so many other decks, against heroes ourselves. So yeah, gotta do it. And then 2 D barriers for going first. I feel like going first, the deck didn't really need too much, so those are kind of like the only ones for going first off inside of there. Like with Dark Angel DPE, Dark Law, as consistent as it's become with the deck, I feel like, you know, our first turn is pretty solid. It plays around a lot of cards, basically like any spell card that would, you know, do anything to you. Dark Ruler, it plays around evenly matched because it puts them a monster out on the board. And yeah, it's just been pretty good. And just felt like I really wish I could have had the 3rd D barrier. Like, it's really good for when your opponent like draws, you know, hand trap combinations, or, you know, going second card combinations that are able to ruin your board, such as like Lava Golem was like a really crazy one, because they just like straight up Lava Golem you and then crash the Dark Angel into the Lava Golem, which kind of sucks. So yeah, it'd be nice to have another D barrier. And yeah, so we might try to fit that off in there. I'm not sure how effective Nib is going to be in this upcoming format. Maybe we can switch out the Nib for the 3rd D barrier. And yeah, the only other change I would probably make is the lightning storms for the cosmic cyclones. And yeah, other than that, deck was pretty solid. I had a lot of fun running it. I felt very confident going into a lot of my matchups. You know, Omni Hero is kind of like that go-to deck. I try not to run it like too often during, you know, my locals and things like that, so that I can have the chance to try out different things. Like, I really like Nebula Neos heroes for some reason, and, you know, like when I'm typically playing in locals, I run that deck or a version of it, or, you know, Cosmos Neos. I try different things, you know, with my deck, just to see, you know, what kind of fun and what kind of crazy things we can do. But, you know, when we go into the more important tournaments like regionals and, you know, things like that, it's just the consistency that Omni Heroes brings is, you know, tough to go around, because you don't have to run the Neospatians and different things like that. So, you know, this is kind of like my go-to deck for higher tier tournaments, and, you know, it's worked out pretty fine most of the time. I've gotten, you know, the biggest challenge is like the regionals in my area. Like, they're ridiculously long. Like, I think this last one was like 9 rounds, and yeah, we ended up going X3, like catching that final loss, you know, in the last few rounds. But, you know, if it had been like 6 or 7 rounds, like, we would have been perfectly fine, you know, top cut and invite. But, you know, it is what it is. I think I got like 3 more chances to get my invite this year. So, you know, ain't nothing to it but to do it. And yeah, appreciate everybody for staying a while to listen. Don't forget to check out Meta TCG. You know, Cyberstorm access is out. Get that 5% off, you know, singles or whatever product you want to get. And yeah, I will catch y'all on the next video.
Man, he come through, he level up, he go through, he's shining out and popping to over 9K. That's a breakthrough. We on top now. Here's a look at our world.